How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Data here, and welcome back to another NHL 23 career simulation. Today, going through the career of the third overall pick in the 2023 draft, Adam Fantilli. Fantilli was drafted third overall by the Columbus Blue Jackets. A lot of people thought that the Ducks may take him at 2, but no, they passed on him for Leo Carlsson, and Fantilli dropped to 3. Fantilli, an extremely talented Canadian centerman. He had scored 30 goals and 65 points in 36 games with the University of Michigan. With Team Canada at the World Under-20s, he scored 5 points in 7 games. He has a big 6'2" presence out on the ice, a power forward with an incredible shot, and the Blue Jackets are very excited to have him. He's already signed to his entry-level contract, and we're going to see today what the NHL 23 franchise mode simulation engine has to say about Fantilli's career, starting with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Will he stick with Columbus? Will he be their first-line centerman of the future, their franchise pillar, or will he move on to other things should there be little team success? Entering today's simulation, Adam Fantilli will be starting off as a 79 overall with high elite potential. His X factors are the unstoppable force, zone ability, as well as the superstar abilities of close quarters, magnetic, and puck on a string. He is a power forward who has between 3 and 3.5 stars everything for his attributes, most notably 87 deking, 85 passing, 85 offensive awareness, 87 acceleration, and the 3.5 star shooting, all between 84 and 87 for his wrist and slap shot power and accuracy. I created Fantilli with these attributes based on my understanding of him as a player, as well as taking a little bit from other people who have created Adam Fantilli in their own franchise modes. So if you think that one attribute or another may be a little bit too low, not to worry. Over the next few years, he will continue to grow, and we'll get a better picture of him after a few seasons in the league. Speaking of years of simulation, if you haven't watched a Career Sim on the channel just yet, what we're going to be doing is taking control of a totally separate team, and we're going to have a hands-off approach to the simulation. It'll be 18, 19, 20 plus years of just Fantilli being simulated on the Columbus Blue Jackets or elsewhere should he leave in free agency or be traded away. And if you do enjoy these simulations, there are a ton more on the channel. Just from this season's prospects, we have Connor Bedard, we already did Reinbacher, Michkov. From last season, Slavkovsky, Nemec, Cutter Gauthier, Shane Wright, so many others. So if you enjoy these, check out the playlist, which is going to be in the top right, as well as taking a moment to explore the channel where we have many franchise mode series, including a series with the Columbus Blue Jackets that we did not too long ago if you're a Blue Jackets fan, as well as breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey, NHL 24 information as that game is a couple months away. So if you haven't already, take a second to check it out, subscribe, and a like would be very much appreciated, as this does take a few days to simulate through. The EA franchise mode can be a nightmare at times. But with all that having been said, let's go ahead and get the career of Adam Fantilli started. So at the 2023 draft, it was a massive process to get this done. I had to somehow get the Blue Jackets picks number 2 and 3, because no matter what, even though this guy's ranked 4th, this generated prospect Lindros kept going. So after a ton of breaking my head, Adam Fantilli is drafted by the Columbus Blue Jackets with the 3rd overall selection, high elite, 79 overall. All of those same attributes that we previously saw him with. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a little bit of growth over the 2023 offseason. Maybe gets to 80 overall. We'll see if he cracks the Blue Jackets lined up straight out of camp. I did a little bit of trading as well to get the Sharks the 4th overall pick. In this universe, they take Michkov, and the Canadians with the 5th overall pick take Reinbacher. So as I mentioned, it'll never be perfect. It was impossible enough to get the draft to this point. I'm going to make sure that I trade and get this guy Lindros off the Blue Jackets to keep it realistic. But Bedard on the Blackhawks, Reinbacher's on the Canadians, you know, we do what we can. So with all that being said, we'll head into year number 1 and see where Fantilli finds himself in the Blue Jackets organization. All right, year number 1 and the Blue Jackets are ready to go all in on Fantilli's development, making him their first line center in 2023-24. He's centering Johnny Gaudreau on his left and Patrick Laine on his right. Of course, the AI doing this because of the X factors and not necessarily because they know who Fantilli is, but hey, we'll take it for his development. I'll quickly go through the lines now. I won't typically do this every season, but just to give you an overview of what we're starting with here in Columbus, Alex Texier, Kent Johnson at an 86 overall, the 5th overall pick in 2021, and Jack Roslovic on the 2nd line, Chinnikov, Jenner, and Robinson on the 3rd, Cole Sillinger getting buried a little bit, 12th overall pick in 2021, with Liam Foudy and Kirill Marchenko on the 4th line. Defense is stacked, Werenski, Jiricek on the top pair, Boqvist, Provorov on the 2nd pair, Jake Bean and Andrew Peak on the 3rd pair. Between the pipes, it is Elvis Merzlikins at an 83 overall, backed up by Danil Tarasov, and Damon Severson and his big contract, currently 7th defenseman with the talent that is here in Columbus. So Adam Fantilli, I don't believe any of his attributes have changed over the offseason. He's still listed as a depth forward, a 79 overall with high elite potential. He's being put on the fast track to success here in Columbus. Let's see how year number 1 goes as the first line centerman with the Blue Jackets. Year number 1 wasn't so bad for the Blue Jackets as it was a disappointing 23rd place finish, but they finished 23rd going 41, 38, and 3. Their winningest season since 2019. So that's the Blue Jackets' best in 5 years. All things considered, not a bad season. Fantilli didn't look too shabby in his rookie season as he played a full 82-game season and scored 25 goals as a rookie, 25 goals and 24 assists for a 49-point season. Unfortunately, a negative 29, but that's what you get when you're on the hottest hockey team. 9 power play points while averaging 20.47 of ice time per night, so he was definitely given a lot of responsibility. At the end of his rookie season, he's still a 79 overall. I don't think many of his attributes have changed. I see his shooting accuracy is up from 84 to 85. Small things like that, but the 2024 offseason is where he will see the most growth. Fantilli finished 2nd in the league in rookie scoring with 49 points and led the league in rookie goal scoring with 25 goals, as it was just Connor Bedard's 65 points that beat him. So you know what? We'd probably give Fantilli first runner-up for the Calder Trophy. All in all, a great rookie season and looking forward to more headed into his sophomore year. Fantilli's 25 goals and 49 points were also enough to set a new franchise record in a rookie season for the Blue Jackets. Year number 2 headed into Fantilli's sophomore season, and he saw great growth over the offseason, growing from a 79 to an 85 overall, but even more important, his high elite potential growing to medium franchise potential. That will lead to even more exponential growth should he have some good offensive numbers this season. He now has 4.5-star shooting and puck skills, as well as 3 or 4-star everything else. Looking great with the 91 offensive awareness, 91 deking, 90 acceleration. I'm excited to see what he does with Gaudreau on his left and Laine on his right for 2024-25. Whoa! Year number 2 was a huge step back for the Blue Jackets as they finished last, 32nd place in the NHL with a record of 25, 42, and 15. I'm not sure why they allow so many goals, 3.65 goals against per game, the most in the league. Their goaltending, yeah, Elvis, I guess he's an 84 overall, but still, he's an 84, and all 6 of their top 6 defensemen are between 84 and 90 overall. So just a really ridiculous season out of nowhere here for Columbus. Not really sure where blame can be assigned here. Gaudreau, only 16 goals from him. Laine scored 33, was a negative 28. I don't know what to say here. Fantilli, however, did have a solid enough season-ish, especially for a sophomore. 23 goals and 31 assists for a 54-point season, playing in all 82 games. 5 more points than his rookie season, but 2 less goals. He was a negative 29 with 15 power play points while averaging 20.41 of ice time per night. Fantilli, after his second season, now has grown to an 86 overall with 5-star puck skills and shooting. I'm sure we'll see more growth over the offseason headed into his 3rd season, which will be, by the way, the final year of his entry-level deal. So we'll see what kind of performance Fantilli can do to try and get the best contract possible on a team that had a very surprising second year. Year number 3, and the Blue Jackets are mostly rolling with the same squad, but Fantilli has seen some more growth. Gaudreau, Fantilli, and Laine still the first line here in Columbus, but Fantilli is now at an 87 overall, listed as a first-line forward with that medium franchise potential still maintained. 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting headed into this 3rd season. Defense at 4, skating at 3.5, and physical still at 3. That's lagging behind a little bit. In the real world, that's one of the hallmarks of his game as a power forward. 6'2", close to 200 pounds, but for some reason lagging behind a little bit. Regardless, this is the final year of his entry-level contract, so we'll see what kind of numbers he can put up coming off of a 54-point season. Hopefully his line mates can pick it up, and thankfully the Blue Jackets did address their biggest need, signing a new starting goaltender. Logan Thompson, the new starter here in Columbus for 4 more seasons, so hopefully getting Elvis out of the starter's crease will be exactly what the Blue Jackets needed to not finish in last place. In year number 3, the Blue Jackets miss out on the postseason, but they do get out of the basement of the league as they finish 22nd best with 84 points and a record of 37, 35, and 10. Fantilli continued to progress as he scored 27 goals and 35 assists for 62 points, all career highs in 80 games. He was a negative 3, which is better comparatively to what he's been in previous years, scoring 15 power play points and averaging 20.50 per night. As you can see, just some odd things out here. Laine only 59 points. Boone Jenner, 38 points as what, an 87 overall? There you go. So a lot of weird stuff in Columbus, unfortunately, but the team is progressing, as I mentioned. After 3 seasons in the NHL, Fantilli is up to an 88 overall, 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting. Headed into restricted free agency. We'll see if he looks for a bridge or maybe a longer-term type of deal with the Blue Jackets, a team where he's gotten a lot of ice time and a lot of opportunity, but not much team success over the first 3 years of his career so far. Year number 4, and Adam Fantilli has signed a bridge deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's at an 87 overall to start this 4th season and will be getting paid $4.945 million on a 1-year contract. It makes sense. The Blue Jackets don't really have a lot of money for long-term right now. A few contracts expiring this season, so we'll see what happens after this one. Gaudreau and Laine still his line mates, but they're going down in overall a little bit. Johnny Gaudreau at an 87 now. In the organization, shout out to Michael Misa, real-world prospect. He was the 3rd overall pick by the Blue Jackets in 2020. That would be a great boost to them if that could happen in the real world. Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger rounding out the top 6 right here. So it's a strong top 6 for the Blue Jackets. Defense is looking very good overall wise. Of course, Fantilli will want to impress on this bridge so he can get his payday after this season. The attributes look great. He's coming off of another career high season. Let's hope for more in year number 4. More struggles for the Blue Jackets, as in year number 4, they finish 4th last in the league, 29th place, and a record of 31, 42, and 9. It seems as though the Johnny Gaudreau experiment has not been working out, and just in general, the Blue Jackets don't have any real high scorers. Fantilli took a step back this season, 19 goals and 32 assists, a 51-point season from the centerman through 76 games. He was a negative 13 with 14 power play points and averaged a career high in ice time, 21:36 per night. After his 4th season in the league, he maintains his 87 overall status, still a medium franchise potential player down to a 2nd-line forward role, still 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting coming off of that 1-year bridge. Will he want to do another bridge as both he and the Blue Jackets try to figure out if they're a right pair for one another, or maybe he gets poached away, traded away? A lot of options for the 2027 offseason. Year number 5, and Adam Fantilli has signed back up in Columbus, but entering the 2027-28 season, he will be their 2nd-line center, as Michael Misa will center the 1st line. Maybe it's a better thing, give Fantilli some new line mates. Gaudreau's down to an 85 overall, he just needs a change of scenery. He will now have Kent Johnson on his left wing and Philip Zadina on his right wing. Fantilli as an 87 overall, still with that medium franchise potential, just waiting to explode. Hopefully this is the season. He has signed a 3-year contract to stay in Columbus, $8.475 million to pay him just over $25 million. This contract will carry him to unrestricted free agency, so we'll see what happens between now and then to convince both he and the Blue Jackets that they are a good fit for one another. So year number 5, let's hit it. More pain in year number 5 as the Eastern Conference continues to just be way too strong. The Blue Jackets have an improved season, finishing 19th best in the league with a record of 38, 35, and 9. But the last Eastern Conference team to make it was the Flyers in 13th with 98 points and 45 wins. Meanwhile, you have Western Conference teams down here in the 20s making the postseason. Fantilli was putting together a very nice season for himself, but suffered a season-ending injury around the halfway point. He ended up only playing in 46 games, but in those games, he scored 13 goals and 21 assists for a 34-point season. That would have put him on a 61-point pace. He was -2 with 11 power play points while logging 5 seconds shy of 19 minutes of ice time per night. Those 61 points would have been enough for him to lead the team in scoring. Ridiculous that Kent Johnson and his 55 points led the Blue Jackets. Gaudreau 49 points, Laine 47 points. This is ridiculous. I know Connor McDavid would probably be scoring 140, 150, and in this universe he's scoring like 110, so it's not super realistic, but it's not like McDavid's scoring 60, 70, 80 points. The top scorers are still getting over 100. The top goal scorers are still getting 50, 60 goals. It shouldn't be that you have Laine and Gaudreau combining for under 100 points when they both play full seasons, but I digress. The Blue Jackets have some major issues which will hopefully be answered in the 2028 offseason. Fantilli will hopefully come back fully healthy. He's still an 87 overall, still medium franchise, still the potential to be so much more than he is. Hopefully he rests up and comes back hungry for year number 6. Year number 6, and I'm starting to get cautiously optimistic for the Blue Jackets. Adam Fantilli, who actually had an MCL sprain at the end of last season, had a good offseason, grows to an 88 overall, still with the medium franchise potential and 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting. He's back to the first line with Gaudreau and Laine, so fingers crossed that they can do something. The top 6 has a new face in Mario Bergevin. He was the 5th overall pick in 2027, medium elite potential, 19 years of age, so good to see both he and Michael Misa in the top 6, some good youth for the future of this team, when you would think guys like Gaudreau and Laine start to drop off even more. The defense is very solid on paper. There's a competent starting goaltender here. This is a great top 6. You gotta think that this will be an improved year number 6 for Fantilli and the Blue Jackets. Year number 6 wasn't too bad of a year for the Blue Jackets as they continue to improve in the league standings, but they are once again on the outside looking in such a packed Eastern Conference. They finished 18th best with a record of 37, 32, and 13. Fantilli hit career highs across the board as in 76 games played, he registered 28 goals and 39 assists for a 67-point season. He was a -17, still yet to be a plus player in his NHL career. Add in 22 points and an average of 21.44 of ice time per night, also a career high, and you have a solid 6th season from Fantilli. Headed into the 2029 offseason, he is still sitting at an 88 overall, but again, with that franchise potential, these attributes that have kind of plateaued have the potential to get exponentially higher. Let's hope for more of the same and hopefully a postseason berth in year number 7. Year number 7, Adam Fantilli finds himself on the left wing now here on Columbus's top line. Very weird as he was 58% on faceoffs last season and is almost 53% in his career. But he will move to the left wing as Kent Johnson centers the first line and Patrick Laine is on the right wing. Bergevin, Misa, and Gaudreau now the second line to round out the top 6 here in Columbus. Vejmelka, the starting goaltender, Werenski, Jiricek, all still in the organization. In what may be Fantilli's final season with the Blue Jackets, his expiring deal will bring him to unrestricted free agency in 2030. He's an 88 overall with the 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting. Coming off of a career-high season, hopefully this 7th year will be the one in which he and the Blue Jackets can reach the postseason. More suffering in year number 7 as the EA simulation engine just seems to hate the Blue Jackets. Columbus finishes 3rd last in the league, 30th place, with a record of 34, 40, and 8. Fantilli played in all 82 games for the first time since his sophomore season and scored a new career high in goals with 34. Add in 30 assists and he had a 64-point season. He was also a +4, the first time in his career that he was a plus player. Add in 13 power play points and an average of 20.08 of ice time per night. One of Fantilli's best seasons, but another horrible year for the Blue Jackets. Headed into the 2030 off-season, Fantilli will be an unrestricted free agent at 88 overall with medium franchise potential. I'm sure some teams will be willing to give him a big payday to get him away from Columbus. Will the Blue Jackets be willing to sign him on after he's been good for 7 years, but they still yet to make it to the postseason? We'll see where he lands headed into 2030-31. In the 2030 offseason, Fantilli signs on long-term with the Blue Jackets, signing a 7-year extension, paying him $12.495 million per season, just about $87.5 million across those 7 years. In current day NHL numbers, that would be an AAV of about $10.25 million. The salary cap is currently over $100 million, so that's why the numbers will be a little bit higher, but still a great contract for Fantilli, who finds himself at an 88 overall, but his potential has dropped to medium elite, the lowest that it's ever been, from high elite to medium franchise, now down to medium elite. 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting. The team here in Columbus seems a little bit stronger offensively as the contract for Johnny Gaudreau has finally expired. Philip Forsberg has joined the team. He won a Hart Trophy a couple years ago. Bergevin's down here as an 88 overall on the 3rd line. They also have Arthur Langenbrunner, who is the 5th overall pick in 2030. So the youth movement that we saw starting in Columbus around 2023 is now getting re-infused in 2030. And let's see if it'll finally mean the postseason in year number 8. Also, just to note, Forsberg, Misa, Podkolzin, Marchenko, Werenski, Jiricek, Severson, Matejchuk, all on expiring contracts here in 2030-31. So Columbus will really have to be hoping for some success in this upcoming season. Still no postseason in year number 8 as the Blue Jackets once again have an average season, finishing 21st in the NHL with a record of 39, 37, and 6. Fantilli hit new career highs in assists and points as he scored 27 goals and 53 assists for 80 points in 80 games, going point per game for the first time in his career. And hey, he wasn't a plus player, but he wasn't a minus player either, breaking even in that regard. He added 18 power play points and was averaging over 20.5 minutes of ice time per night. At the end of this 8th season in the league, Fantilli still an 88 overall, coming off of the best numbers of his career, so hopefully it does something for his overall over the offseason. But speaking of the offseason, a lot of expiring deals in Columbus. I'll be very curious to see how the AI general manager manages that and sets the Blue Jackets up for the future headed into year number 9. All right, year number 9, and the Blue Jackets see some big changes over the 2031 offseason. Fantilli grows to an 89 overall, the highest that he's ever been. Still the 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting, but his defense is up to 4 stars, while his skating and physical are both at 3.5. This is the best version of Fantilli that we've ever seen, coming off of a career year, so hopefully more to come in this 9th season. He is centered by Michael Misa on that top line, with the right wing being occupied by Bo Horvat at 36 years of age. Johnson, Rupe Hint, and this guy Langenbrunner, who continues to grow on the second line. Bergevin on the third. On defense, Werenski is back, so is Matejchuk, but Jiricek, Boquist, Severson, all those other pieces back in 2023 have moved on. With Fantilli playing the best hockey of his career and with some strong additions around him, let's cross those fingers and toes for a postseason berth in 2031-32. Get excited, Blue Jackets fans, because in year number 9, Columbus finally makes the postseason for the first time since 2020. Here in 2032, 12 years later, Columbus is back in the postseason, finishing 14th best in the NHL with a record of 43, 34, and 5. Adam Fantilli played in all 82 games and hit a new career high in points as he scored 32 goals and 49 assists for an 81-point season. He was a plus 15, the best plus-minus of his career. He hasn't been a minus player in 3 seasons now. He also had 15 power play points and was logging 20.38 of ice time per night. At 27 years of age, after 9 seasons in the NHL, Fantilli is headed to the postseason for the first time in his career. Fantilli's time in the postseason was short-lived, unfortunately, as the Blue Jackets fell to the Flyers in round number 1 in 5 games. The Flyers went on to get swept by the Rangers, who lost in 5 to the Islanders, who swept the Stanley Cup final as I believe the last team to make it into the postseason. Fantilli just couldn't wait to get to the postseason, as in his first career berth playing in a 5-game series, he logged 2 goals and 7 assists for 9 points, close to 2 points per game. He was a +2 with 3 power play points while logging close to 22.5 minutes of ice time per night. The points seem to be there, the top scorers at least. I'm looking at just a bit more in depth. Yeah, there's the goaltending that'll do it for you, just because it was the first time I wanted to look a little bit closer. But after 9 seasons in the league, headed into his 10th season, Fantilli has finally tasted the postseason, and with that grows to a 90 overall. 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting. 4.5 defense, 4-star physical. It's the skating at 3.5, which is his lowest, but everything else carrying him very, very well. 94 faceoffs. He's got to be on the dot. I'm looking forward to seeing what Columbus does in the 2032 offseason. Fantilli's at his best. Misa's at his best. First postseason berth in 12 years. Let's hope for more in 2032-33. All right, okay, if you're a Blue Jackets fan, then you are definitely excited about this top 6 headed into year number 10, as Fantilli at a 90 overall is centering the second line for Columbus. Kent Johnson on his left and Bo Horvat on his right. On the first line, it's Pastrnak, Misa, and Langenbrunner. I'd love to have Fantilli on that top line. Maybe he'll get there with line changes or injuries, but for now he's starting as second line center. Coming off of a career year and the first postseason berth of his career, he is still a 90 overall with all those great attributes that we left him off as. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues his trend of setting new career highs headed into his 10th season in the NHL. In year number 10, of course, it's just Columbus's luck that the Metropolitan Division is stacked, as despite having a record of 39, 32, and 11, they finish 17th in the NHL on the outside looking in. Adam Fantilli, for a 3rd consecutive season, hits new career highs as he scores 33 goals and a new career high of 59 assists to hit a new career high of 92 points through a full 82-game season, a fourth consecutive year as a plus player as he was a plus 13, 19 power play points, and lower ice time though, 19 and a half minutes of ice time per night compared to some other players who are getting a little bit more. Fantilli continues to impress, but it's too bad that the Blue Jackets are stuck where they are. They finish 7th in the Metropolitan Division, but 17th in the NHL. That just tells you how strong it is in the Metro. 92-point season from Fantilli maintains his 90 overall status. There are the attributes after another career year here in year number 10. So wonderful news for Fantilli, but hopefully better news coming Columbus's way for 2033-34. Year number 11, and Adam Fantilli is back on the first line in Columbus, once again with the highest overall of his career, as he is now a 91 overall for the first time ever. 5-star puck skills, senses, shooting, and defense with 4.5 physical and 3.5 skating. Ridiculous attributes across the board for Fantilli, who is centering the first line with Kevin Fiala on his left and Arthur Langenbrunner on his right. Misa down on the second line. I'm not sure why Bergevin is still on the third line and not on the second when there's a 76 over here, but I digress. Fantilli has set new career highs for 3 consecutive seasons. Now as a 91 overall, can he make it 4? And can the Blue Jackets get back into the postseason for what would be just the second time now in Fantilli's 11th season? Yes, sir! In year number 11, the Blue Jackets are back in the postseason for the second time in 3 years, and just the second time in Fantilli's career, as they have the best finish of their time with Fantilli in the lineup. 7th best in the NHL with a record of 46, 31, and 5. What? Adam Fantilli blows the competition out of the water in his 11th season. In 80 games played, he scores 44 goals, a new career high, 76 assists, another new career high, and hey, 120 points, 28 more points than he's ever scored, and he does it in an 80-game season. He's a plus 44, shooting at 18.6%, 21 power play points, and 21.41 of ice time per night. Incredible numbers from Adam Fantilli. I don't want to stop recording. I just got to go and look at the entire league. Where does that put him? That ties him, but not the Art Ross. He ties him for the league lead in points with Ben McCarty of the Seattle Kraken. But since McCarty scored 20 more goals, Adam Fantilli will be the first runner-up. Wow. Tied for the league lead in points, but no Art Ross for Adam Fantilli. Headed into the year number 11 postseason, the Blue Jackets have to be riding on a high. In the postseason, the Blue Jackets made it out of round number 1 for the first time in 15 years, as they hadn't done that since 2019. They took down the Lightning in 5 games, but fell in round number 2 in 7 games to the Florida Panthers, who went on to lose to the Flyers, who lost to the Winnipeg Jets. Fantilli led the team in goals and continued to be above point per game in the postseason, as he scored 8 goals and 6 assists for 14 points through those 12 games. He was a plus 6 with 3 power play points and was averaging 22.06 of ice time per night. Fantilli unfortunately did not win any awards, but you would have to think that he was the runner-up for a bunch. What an incredible season for the now 29-year-old, who is still a 91 overall headed into year number 12, coming off of a 44-goal, 120-point season. 3 more years on his contract if you're curious about that, and an incredible Blue Jackets team that just made it to the postseason for the second time in 3 years. They won a postseason round for the first time in 15 years. You would have to think that morale is high and the Blue Jackets are ready to run it back in year number 12. Year number 12, and how about this for a stacked top 6 in Columbus? Fantilli centering the first line as a 91 overall, coming off of the best season of his career. Michael Misa on his left. I believe it's the first time that they played together. And Nikita Kucherov at 41 years of age on his right. Wow. On the second line, Langenbrunner at a 90, Johnson at a 91, Fiala at an 82, Kotkaniemi's down here at an 85 as a 34-year-old. Bergevin unfortunately leaving the team, but the Blue Jackets are still very strong. Fantilli at a 91 overall is coming off of a season in which he was tied for the most points in the NHL. 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting, and after 4 consecutive years of Fantilli setting new career highs season after season, I think I'll have a hard time of topping what he did last year. But at the very least, let's see if the Blue Jackets are able to make it to the postseason in consecutive years for what would be the first time in Fantilli's career. All right, in year number 12, things just keep getting better for the Blue Jackets as they finish fourth best in the NHL with a record of 47, 24, and 11, 105 points. Those 47 wins were good enough to tie their second most in franchise history, and for the first time in 2035, having been in the league since the year 2000, the Blue Jackets in their 35th season win the Metropolitan Division, the first time this has ever happened, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Adam Fantilli played in all 82 games, scoring 40 goals and 61 assists for a 101-point season, scoring 100 points or more now in consecutive years, a plus 24 with 27 power play points, while averaging 20.54 of ice time per night. At the age of 30, he is in his prime, and these are incredible numbers headed in to the Blue Jackets' third postseason berth in 4 years. Also, two things to note, the Blue Jackets, including Fantilli, had 5 players score above a point per game this season, including 41-year-old Nikita Kucherov with 95 points. He's had almost 1,900 points on his career. He scored his 1,000th assist as well. And if you're curious, Fantilli's 101 points weren't amongst the top in the league, but still an incredible season from him. But in the postseason, it was heartbreak for the Blue Jackets as they fell in 7 games in round number 1 to Nikita Kucherov's old team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who went on to lose to the Flyers, who went to the Cup final but lost in 7 to the Avalanche. Fantilli led the way in those 7 games, point per game plus as per usual, 3 goals and 9 assists for 12 points through 7 games. He was a +1 with 4 power play points while logging 22-24 of ice time per night. The Blue Jackets are coming off of their first division title in franchise history, 3 postseason berths in the last 4 years, 5 consecutive incredible seasons from Adam Fantilli, who is still a 91 overall at 31 years of age. He'll head into his 13th season with all these attributes. We'll see what kind of changes the offseason has in store as he once again scored 100 plus points. But I would say this is the best version of Fantilli that we're going to get, and I hope the Blue Jackets don't waste those years, especially with just 2 more years on his contract. Year number 13 and the Blue Jackets are ready to run it back. Fantilli centering the second line as a 91 overall because Kent Johnson is centering the first line, also a 91. He's playing with Misa and Kucherov, who's back for more at 42 years of age. He scored 95 points last season. He had 7 goals in 7 games in the postseason. He's back for more. Fantilli thankfully does have Langenbrunner on his left, who scored 55 goals last season, but I would have preferred to see him on the first line. Regardless, on his right wing, he has Matthew Park, who is a sniper as well, second round pick in 2030. So Fantilli as a 91 overall is headed into his 13th season, coming off of back-to-back 100-plus point years, 5-star puck skills, senses, shooting, and defense. So let's hope for more in what is the second to last year of this current contract that he's on, as the Blue Jackets search for a 4th postseason berth in 5 years. The Blue Jackets are cruising in year number 13 as they once again finish amongst the top teams in the league. A 7th place finish for Columbus as they went 45, 28, and 9. Fantilli was once again point per game plus, but being left off of that top line definitely hurt him. 88 points in 77 games, nothing to sneeze at all. 28 goals and 60 assists, but he did finish 5th in team scoring. Shout out to Kucherov with a 99-point season at 42 years of age. Ridiculous. Fantilli was also a +11 with 19 power play points while averaging a very low, honestly, 18-14 of ice time per night. Headed into what will now be his 3rd consecutive postseason berth and the 4th in the last 5 years, the Blue Jackets are yet to make it beyond Game 7 of Round 2, so let's see if 2036 will have some better luck. But in the postseason, the Blue Jackets once again fell in round number 1, this year at the hands of the Philadelphia Flyers, who took them down in 6 games before going on to lose to the Capitals, who lost to Vegas in a 2018 Stanley Cup Final rematch. For the first time in Fantilli's career, he was not above point per game in the postseason. He actually only scored 1 goal and 2 assists for 3 points through those 6 games. He was a -3 with 2 power play points and only 17.41 of ice time per night. Very odd. Shout out to Nikita Kucherov, who scored 13 points in 6 games at 42 years of age. I wonder if he comes back or if he calls it a career, but regardless, Fantilli now at 31 years of age will be headed into the final year of his contract. He has had some incredible seasons as of late. The Blue Jackets are finally having some success. Let's hope that they can find maybe a replacement for Kucherov and continue that success headed into 2036-37. Year number 14, and what excites me the most is that Nikita Kucherov is back. 80 overall, 43 years of age, signing another 1 year here in Columbus. The modern day Jaromir Jagr. This is ridiculous. He is on the top line with Misa and Langenbrunner, while Fantilli, still at 91 overall, is on the second line with his good longtime friend Kent Johnson on the left as a 90 overall, and Matthew Parker's now at an 82 on his right. Fantilli in the final year of his contract before potential unrestricted free agency, still maintaining his 91 overall status with 5-star puck skills, senses, shooting, and defense. Here in his 14th year in Columbus, he will be looking for a 5th consecutive point per game plus season and his 4th consecutive postseason berth. Year number 14 was a big one for the Blue Jackets as they finished 6th best in the NHL with a record of 48, 30, and 4, making the postseason for a 4th consecutive year for just the 2nd time in franchise history over the course of 37 years. These 48 wins were also good enough to be the 2nd most in franchise history. Fantilli had an impressive season as he scored 1 more point than last year, 27 goals and 62 assists for 89 points over 77 games. He was a plus 11 with 19 power play points and only was logging 18:47 of ice time per night. Goes to show how he should be playing so much more. Once again, shout out to Nikita Kucherov, who scored 40 goals and 88 points at the age of 43. Also shout out to Michael Misa, who had 99 assists and 122 points. Langenbrunner 69 goals, ridiculous cast here in Columbus. Headed into the postseason, this will be Adam Fantilli's 5th appearance, and he is still yet to make it beyond Game 7 of round number 2, so fingers crossed for the 2037 postseason run. In the postseason, the Blue Jackets made it out of round number 1 after a 7-game thriller with the Penguins, but fell in 6 games in round number 2 to the eventual Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers. If you gotta get eliminated, at least it was by the eventual Stanley Cup champions, but still not a fun experience. Fantilli, at 32 years of age, will now be an unrestricted free agent in the 2037 offseason. After 14 years with the Blue Jackets organization, he has scored over 1,000 points. He has been an incredible piece in their top 6, but the question will be, can they afford him? If Kucherov retires, maybe other money moving around, it would definitely be possible, but does Fantilli even want to stay? After 4 consecutive postseason berths, you would think that things are looking up, but that's for him to decide in the offseason. Year number 15, and Fantilli is back in Columbus for at least 1 more season as he signed a 1-year deal with the team, paying him $9.795 million. Honestly, a bit low compared to the production that he brings to the table, but he was sitting for a long time in free agency. He originally wanted $15 million, so he waited. No one came knocking at his door. The Blue Jackets came back. How about a 1-year deal, $9.795? He said, all right, I'll take that money and hopefully get at least 1 more big contract in my career in the 2038 offseason. But for now, Fantilli is still here in Columbus trying to get a deep postseason run under his belt. Arthur Langenbrunner and his 69 goals last season on Fantilli's left, his good friend Kent Johnson on his right. On the second line, Michael Misa at a 91, coming off of his 99 assists. This guy, Bob Clutterbuck, the 1st overall pick in 2025 on the second line right wing. So it's a strong team. No more Nikita Kucherov. I checked. He's still here. 44 years of age. He signed a 1-year, $14 million contract with the Rangers. Incredible. We'll check out his numbers once he finally retires. But for now, it's year number 15, and Fantilli and the Blue Jackets will be looking for a 5th consecutive postseason berth. In year number 15, the Blue Jackets have their highest positional finish in the NHL with Adam Fantilli as they finished 3rd best in the league, making the postseason for a 5th consecutive year for the first time in franchise history, also winning 49 games, the new 2nd most in franchise history. They ended with a record of 49, 29, and 4. Fantilli had an incredible 104-point season as he scored 31 goals and 73 assists through a full 82-game campaign. It was the 3rd 100-plus point season of his career and the 6th consecutive point-per-game plus season from Fantilli. He was a plus 24 with 19 power play points, all while averaging still under 19.5 minutes of ice time per night. Crazy to see the Blue Jackets having 4 100-plus point players. Langenbrunner, another 67-goal season. Incredible top 6 offense here in Columbus. Even Johnson, Korchinski. So fingers crossed, finally, for a deep run for the Blue Jackets. But alas, it was not to be, as the Blue Jackets made it out of round number 1 in the 2038 postseason, beating the Devils in 6 games, but fell in 6 themselves to the Hurricanes, who would go on to lose to the Maple Leafs, who won the 2038 Cup. Fantilli scored 7 goals and 9 assists for 16 points through those 12 games. He was a +5, 2 power play points, and 19.45 of ice time per night. At 33 years of age, after 15 years with the Blue Jackets organization, he is still yet to get beyond the second round of the postseason. He's down to an 89 overall, still 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting, but as age continues to creep up on him, he will decrease in overall slightly. He will be an unrestricted free agent in the 2038 offseason as well. So I will be extremely curious to see if he wants to sign on long term with the Blue Jackets and say, this is where I'm going to make my home for the rest of my career. It's ride or die with Columbus, or will he try to seek out that cup elsewhere? Also, a big shout out to Kucherov, who finally retired at 45 years of age, 948 goals, and 2,080 points over an 1,800 game career. In year number 16, after 15 seasons with the Columbus Blue Jackets, Adam Fantilli decides to walk in free agency, signing with the Vancouver Canucks once again in a situation where he was asking for a lot of money. No one was looking to give it to him, so he signed a 1-year deal, paying him $9.9 million to come to Vancouver at 34 years of age and be their first-line centerman as an 89 overall. His old friend Mario Bergevin on his left, and this guy Mikael Hedstrom, 5-star shooting sniper, on his right. Some other old faces here from the Blue Jackets. Marchenko is here. On defense, we see Matejchuk is here. So maybe some old Blue Jackets were calling Fantilli and saying, hey, come to Vancouver. Also a 91 overall here. Goaltending, it's an 87 overall. So it's not a bad team here in Vancouver at all. Fantilli, at 34 years of age, will be centering the first line on this team. He still has the 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting, but defense, skating, and physical starting to drop a little bit. Outside of Columbus, for the first time in his career, let's see if he can keep up the point production pace that he has been on and bring the Canucks to the postseason. Oof. In year number 16, the Canucks were just on the outside looking in, as they were the first team in the West not to make the postseason, finishing in 19th place. Fantilli missing out on the postseason for just the second time in the last 8 years, after he didn't make it to the postseason for the first 8 years of his career. The Canucks finished 42, 37, and 3. Fantilli continued to be point per game plus, as in 81 games he scored 39 goals and 45 assists for an 84-point season. He was a +4 with 17 power play points and was logging 21-17 of ice time per night, exactly what he wanted when he signed in Vancouver. After his 16th season in the NHL, he is still an 89 overall, once again headed to unrestricted free agency. Is he a good fit in Vancouver? Did they have a good relationship in this 2038-39 season? We'll see headed into the 2039 off season, where he will still be demanding quite a pretty penny for his services. Year number 17, and Adam Fantilli is off to the Big Apple as he once again signs a 1-year contract. 1 year, $7.905 million with New York, one of the best teams in the league over the last few years. Once again, I think he just waits a bit too long in free agency and he gets a 1-year deal. He has this guy Kozevnikov, a former 9th overall pick, 5-star puck skill, 2-way forward on his left, and Jimmy Snuggerud, currently of the St. Louis Blues organization, on his right in the real world. Frank Nazar there on the second line. This prospect, who's named Miroslav Satan, on the fourth line. That's incredible. The defense isn't too hot, but the goaltending, they do have an 87 overall between the pipes, backed up by Robinson Luongo. Incredible stuff. So Adam Fantilli looking for an 8th consecutive point per game plus season. He wants to get back to the postseason as well. He's now an 87 overall, still with top 6 potential, still with 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting. With this cast around him, he should have another solid season, now back in the Metropolitan Division. An unfortunate year number 17 as the Rangers finish 4th last in the NHL. That surprised me, I have to say. The defense, though, I guess it was probably because of that. The Rangers were 29th placed with a record of 32, 43, and 7. Fantilli had a good season, but didn't go point per game plus for the first time in 8 years. He also missed the postseason in back-to-back years for the first time since years 7 and 8. Regardless, he also missed 13 games due to injury. Through 69 games, he scored 31 goals and 32 assists for a 63-point season. Still not too shabby at all. He was a +1, which is pretty fantastic considering that everyone at the top there was a negative player. He also added 8 power play points and was logging a new career high in minutes at 21:45 on average per night. So a lot of ice time for the 35-year-old, who now headed into the 2040 offseason will once again be an unrestricted free agent. He finds himself as an 86 overall, listed as a second-line forward. Still has 5-star senses and shooting, with everything else continuing to drop a bit more quickly than it was before. And with not too many years left in his career, he will have to choose wisely for which team he'll play for come 2040-41. Also, shout out to Fantilli's longtime friend Kent Johnson, who called it a career after playing a full 1,400 plus games with the Blue Jackets, scoring 1,329 points. Year number 18, and Fantilli is back to the Western Conference as he signs with the Vegas Golden Knights, this time on a 2-year deal, finally getting some security. 2 years at $8.475, paying him just under $17 million over 2 seasons. Possibly the last contract of his career, as he is now down to an 83 overall with top 9 potential, listed as a third-line scorer, but centering the second line here in Vegas, with Junior Keatley, a 78 overall sniper, on his left, and Vaclav Havlet on his right wing, 85 overall two-way forward, 34 years of age, 4.5-star shooting. Okay. Not a bad lineup in Vegas. I like the depth, but I wouldn't say there is a ton of star power. Defense is passable for 2040 in franchise mode standards, and goalies at 279 overalls. So I don't know if I'm expecting the most from this team, but Fantilli has signed for 2 years in Vegas, and let's hope for the most, as he is still a very valuable player who will try to get Vegas to the postseason. Okay, now that's more like it. In year number 18, Fantilli is back in the postseason as the Golden Knights finish 6th best in the NHL with a record of 47, 31, and 4. Fantilli turned back the clock in his first season with Vegas as he scored 37 goals and 46 assists for an 83-point season through 71 games. He missed the final 11 games of the season due to a concussion that will keep him out for just 5 more days, so he may miss the first few games of round number 1. 37 goals, that is the 4th highest goal-scoring season of his career, and he does it at 36 years of age. Incredible stuff. He was a +10 with 10 power play points and was logging 18.23 of ice time per night. I believe that was a career low, shooting at 17.8%. Hopefully he can keep that pace up and help Vegas to get beyond round number 2, as Fantilli, through 7 postseason berths, is still yet to make a conference final or further. But in the postseason, after Vegas took down Seattle in 5, Fantilli and the Golden Knights fell to Anaheim in 7 games in round number 2, matching the furthest run that Fantilli has ever been on, once again falling to the eventual Stanley Cup champions as Anaheim went on to win it all. It seems as though Fantilli came back from his injury and then suffered another one, as he only played in 1 game in the postseason, scoring 1 goal and 1 assist for 2 points. He looked good out there, 1 goal on 2 shots. He played 1850 of ice time, but then he never played again. So it seems as though Fantilli may have been able to be the difference maker, but Vegas had to go without him. Fantilli does still have 1 year left on his contract, but he's now down to an 82 overall. Only 5-star attribute set left is his shooting. Everything else down to between 2.5 and 4 stars. The 2.5-star physical is a killer. At 36 years of age, he'll be in the final year of his contract and possibly the final year of his career, headed into 2041-42, a year in which he'll want to bounce back from injury. Year number 19, and Adam Fantilli works hard in the offseason as he bounces back to an 86 overall. Great news. He's listed as a second-line forward despite the bottom 6 potential. Back to 5-star puck skills, senses, and shooting. Even his physical back up from 2.5 to 3.5 stars. It's only the skating that's down at 2.5, defense at 4. The final year of his contract and possibly the final year of his career if he decides to call it after this season. He scored 83 points in 71 games last season and could have done more in the postseason if it weren't for injury, so he will want to make this season count. He is centered by Tobias Sinziger as first-line center, 4th overall pick in 2028, and Mikhail Modin, 3rd overall pick in 2032 on the right wing. The top 6, the top 9, even the forward core looks pretty strong here in Vegas. Defense, again, not horrible if you're taking the franchise mode into consideration. 281 overall goaltenders, which is pretty typical and definitely doable in the later years of franchise mode. 2041-42, let's hit it. In year number 19, Fantilli and the Golden Knights return to the postseason as Vegas finishes 17th best in the league with a record of 41, 35, and 6. Fantilli, he still got it. The 37-year-old goes point per game at 37 years of age, 82 in 82, and he does that through 28 goals and 54 assists, a fully healthy season after last season's injury troubles. He was a -3, however, a negative player for the first time in 13 years. Very rare to see from Fantilli, who was such a strong defensive player. He also added 11 power play points and did all that while averaging 20.43 of ice time per night. Headed into this postseason, it's the final year on his contract. He's still producing, but no one says that he won't retire. So as we've been saying, he will really want to make this one count, especially after Vegas could have gone much further than they did last season. Wow, wow, wow. In the 2042 postseason, Vegas falls in round number 1 in 5 games to the San Jose Sharks, who lose to the Oilers, who lose to the Blackhawks, who go on to win the Stanley Cup. This was also the first time that Fantilli lost a postseason series in 5 games since his first postseason berth 10 years ago. Not much offense from Vegas through those 5 games. Fantilli scored 2 goals and an assist for 3 points through those 5 games. Even plus minus, no power play points while logging 19-18 of ice time per night. Now at the age of 37, Fantilli has a big drop down to 81 overall. Still a player who could definitely be in a team's top 6 or top 9, especially after having scored 82 points this past season. He still has the 5-star shooting, 96 and 95 slap and wrist shot accuracy respectively. But skating at 2 stars, he's slow, 74 speed. Physical at 2.5. After another postseason heartbreak, Fantilli is headed into the 2042 offseason as a 37-year-old without a contract, but still brings a lot of value to the table. His body's getting older. The body can be trained. The heart, however, can only take so much. Adam Fantilli still has a little left in the tank as he will play in a 20th season in the NHL, signing a 1-year deal to stay in Vegas for his 3rd season with the Golden Knights. 1 year at $5.26 million to center the second line as an 82 overall. Vaclav Havlet on his left wing. This guy Brent Durapos, 86 overall, 5-star puck skill, 2-way forward, all right, on his right wing. The top line looks great. The top 6 is solid. Fantilli's coming off of a point per game season, but he's an 82 overall with AHL top 6 potential, so I think that his overall will drop quite a bit no matter what production he puts up, so I would be pretty surprised if he plays beyond this season. 1 more year to make it an even 20. He's still got the 5-star shooting, the 90 offensive awareness, 90 defensive awareness. Yes, the skating's at 2 stars, the physical at 2.5, but he's still got it. He's playing top 6, and he wants to go out on a high note. Year number 20 ends in devastation as Fantilli and the Golden Knights miss out on the postseason. Vegas finished 22nd in the NHL with a record of 37, 39, and 6. Fantilli still got the job done as he scored 66 points in 82 games, 37 goals and 29 assists, those 37 goals tying for the 4th most he's ever scored in a season. He also scored 37 in his first year with Vegas. Fantilli was also a plus 23 with 11 power play points and was logging a career low in ice time, 16-15 per night, yet he still puts up 66 points in a solid campaign. Now at 38 years of age, Fantilli drops to an 81 overall with more heartbreak and putting in these great efforts as the body continues to take a beating. 1.5-star skating, 2-star physical. I would be surprised if Fantilli decides to come back for year number 21, but he still has 5-star shooting. He's still got the talent, but once again, is his heart in it? And in the 2043 offseason, Adam Fantilli does decide to call it a career. Funny that Leo Carlsson also retires. He was drafted 2nd overall, and they had very similar careers point-wise, it seems like. But in the end, Fantilli goes out having played 1,551 games, scoring 603 goals and adding 911 assists to total 1,514 points in his career. Let's start breaking it all down a little bit more. He goes out as a 79 overall. Could he have still done it, possibly, but the body was definitely starting to take a beating. 2-star skating, 2-star physical at the end. When we look at his career numbers, he was usually a guy who could be counted on for about 82 games per season. Of his 603 goals, his best season was a 44-goal campaign in 2033-34. The most assists that same season at 76, and most points, once again that same season when he scored 120 points. He was tied for the NHL lead in points that season, but did not win the Art Ross, since the player that he was tied with had more goals. He ended as a plus 88. His best season was plus 44, usually closer to plus 20, plus teens, but had a lot of negative seasons as well that held his career numbers back a little bit. 797 career penalty minutes, as low as 10 and never more than 74. He took 4,447 shots and shooting at 13.6%. 56 of his 603 goals were game winners. 133 of them came on the power play, and 313 of his points were on the power play as well. 10 goals on the shorthanded penalty kill and 22 points shorthanded as well. The total time that he averaged on ice in his career was 20 minutes and 10 seconds. Never more than 21:45, never less than 16:15. That coming in the later years, of course. He played 31,291 minutes in the NHL. When it comes to his faceoffs, he took over 36,200 and won over 20,000 for a career faceoff percentage of 55.2%, as high as 62.62 and as low as 47.05, but incredible on the dot throughout his career. He threw 2,238 hits, as high as 182 and as low as 43. That was from the earlier days of his career. Despite being a power forward, he didn't use his body until he got into his prime, it seems like, and when he was in his prime, he was throwing the body around quite a bit. Was not a shot blocker. He only blocked 367 shots in his career. 993 giveaways to 1,310 takeaways. A great ratio, but unfortunately never any Selke trophies. In the postseason, through 8 playoff berths, he played 61 games, scoring 30 goals and 39 assists for 69 points. He never made it further than the 7th game of round number 2. He made it there twice, but never to a conference or Stanley Cup final. He was a plus 17 in his 61 postseason games with 48 penalty minutes, shooting at 15.6%. 5 game-winning goals, 7 on the power play, 14 power play points, no shorthanded points, 20.53 average ice time in the postseason, 52.95% on the dot, 124 hits, 13 blocked shots, 29 giveaways, and 74 takeaways. As always, to wrap things up, I like to compare these numbers to the real-world NHL record book. Of course, by 2043, that record book will look very different, but just for an idea of where these numbers would place Fantilli all-time, his 1,551 games played would be the 16th most all-time, above Alex Delvecchio and below Jarome Iginla. His 603 goals would be the 20th most all-time, above Jari Kurri and below Dino Ciccarelli. And yes, that's how you pronounce his name. His 911 assists would place him also 20th all-time, above Brian Trottier and below Stan Mikita. And finally, his 1,514 points would place him 15th all-time, currently below Paul Coffey and above Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. But of course, I'm sure that those two will pass him before the end of their careers. Also note that although Fantilli held a few Blue Jackets franchise records throughout his career, at the time of his retirement, he no longer held any. Most of the ones that he had were broken by Michael Misa, whether it be for a full career or a single season, rookie, or in a single game. And thus concludes the career of Adam Fantilli, ladies and gentlemen, having played 20 years in the National Hockey League, 15 seasons with the team that drafted him, the Columbus Blue Jackets, as he scored 431 goals and 705 assists for 1,136 points through 1,166 games played. Through those 15 seasons, he unfortunately only made the postseason 6 times and never went beyond round number 2. In those 55 playoff games, he scored 64 points. He was a force out there, but the team was never quite strong enough. After 15 years in Columbus, he spent a season in Vancouver scoring 84 points, a season with the Rangers scoring 63 points, and then ended off his career with 3 seasons in Las Vegas, 235 games played, 102 goals, 129 assists, and 231 points, almost point per game, keeping in line with what he was doing throughout his career. In those 3 seasons, he made the postseason twice with Vegas, scoring 5 points in 6 games, but once again, never beyond round number 2. In the end, he was almost almost a point per game player in his career, as after 1,551 games in the league, he scored 603 goals, 911 assists for a total of 1,514 points. If you put that over an 82 game career average, he was usually good for 32 goals and 48 assists and 80 points per season. Some other numbers I've already touched upon: his career ice time, hits, giveaways, takeaways, and face-off percentage, 55.2% on the dot. He was incredible. In the postseason throughout his career as well, 61 games played, 30 goals, 39 assists, 69 points, over a point per game in the postseason, but so sad that he can never make it to a conference final or further. In those 20 years, he made over $170 million. He was a 10-time 30-plus goal scorer, 8-time 50-plus assist scorer, and 3-time 100-plus point scorer. Most notably in 2034 when he scored 120 points, which tied him for the league lead. But no Art Ross, no awards, no honors in his career, unfortunately. All the records that he held with the Blue Jackets, such as most goals and points by a rookie or most points in a single season, were eventually broken by, I think all of them, by Michael Misa, a real world prospect. So maybe the Blue Jackets can get him in the real world. But that just about does it for Adam Fantilli. What did you think about this one, ladies and gentlemen? Do you see some realism to it? Do you think some of these numbers could be realistic for Fantilli? Let me know that, your favorite part of the simulation, and anything else you thought about this sim down here in the comments or over on the Discord server. And of course, as always, be sure to let me know whose career you would like to see simulated next. Thank you for taking the time to enjoy this simulation. Leave a like if you did. As I mentioned at the start of the video, it's always a super fun time to do these videos, but they do take about 3 or 4 days just to simulate. So if you enjoyed it, a like is very much appreciated. And also don't forget to subscribe, as we have more career simulations, NHL 23 franchise mode, and much, much more, including NHL 24 news, as that game is just a couple of months away and you won't want to miss out on any of that. So thank you again for taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you once again in the next one.